Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Nama saya Sholikhah dengan NIM 1262112010001. The solar system and its planets. The solar system is made up of the sun and all the smaller objects that move around it. Apart from the sun, the large member of the solar system are the 7 major planets. Nearest the sun are four very small rocky planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Beyond Mars is the asteroid belt, a region populated by millions of rocky objects that are leftovers from the formation of the planets. On the far side of the asteroid belt are the 4 gas giants: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. These planets are much bigger than Earth but very lightweight for their size. They are mostly made of hydrogen and helium. Previously, there were 9 planets in the solar system. Pluto was previously included in the range of planets in the Milky Way galaxy. Search for life science, Pluto was excluded from the list of planets because it did not meet the 3 planetary elements. The elements of a planet include 1. Celestial bodies orbiting the sun. 2. Has enough gravity to form in a circle. 3. As the planet moves, it must be able to clear the surrounding space of other objects. Pluto does not fulfill the 3rd element. Therefore, in 2006, Pluto was no longer included in the ranks of the planets. First, Mercury. Mercury is the first planet from the sun. It is not very easy to observe since it is always close to the sun in the sky. Even when displaced, it is close to the horizon and only visible for a few hours after sunset or before sunrise. The planet spins around the sun once every 99 days. However, it spins on its axis very slowly once every. This is exactly 2/3 of its orbital period. Mercury is small, rocky world. Mercury is very like the moon. Its surface is covered with impact craters. It has no atmosphere and no water. The noon temperature and equator can soar to but the night are extremely cold. There may be some water ice in the deep, dark craters near the poles. Mercury is surprisingly dense. It also has a surprisingly strong magnetic field. Second, Venus. Venus is the second planet from the sun, so it is almost very close to the sun in the sky. It appears as a brilliant morning or evening star. The brightest object in the night sky apart from the moon. In a telescope, it can be seen to go through space, just like the moon. Venus is so bright because it is covered by clouds that reflect much of the incoming sunlight. The yellowish clouds are made of sulfur and sulfuric acid. In some ways, Venus is Earth's twin. It's about the same size and made of the same rocky material. However, it's blanketed with thick atmosphere of carbon dioxide, the gas that we breathe out. This atmosphere is so dense that walking through will be like wading through water. The carbon dioxide traps most of this heat from the sun. The cool layers also act as a blanket. The result is a runaway greenhouse effect that has caused the plant's temperature to soar to hot enough to melt it. This means that Venus is even hotter than Mercury. Without special protection, a visitor to Venus will die instantly, crushed by the immense air pressure, suffocated by the atmosphere, burned to a crisp by the scorching heat, and dissolved by the acid. Third, Earth. Traveler in space. Everyone on Earth is a traveler through space. First, the Earth zooms around the Sun at a speed of 30 km/s. It takes to complete one orbit of the Sun. The third of the axis that joins the North and South poles mean that the Earth has seasons, where the North Pole points toward the Sun, then it's summer in the northern countries, where the North Pole points away from the Sun. These countries have their winter. Earth becomes the only planet in our solar system with an oxygen-rich atmosphere. Planet Earth, a water world. Earth is like no other planet that we have yet observed. It is the only world we know that has large areas of surface water and a lot of oxygen in its atmosphere. It is also the only world known to support life. This makes it very special. As the third planet from the Sun, Earth is neither too hot nor too cold for us to exist. The temperature is also just right for life, and it has stayed that way for billions of years. Threat from space. Earth is the largest of the four rocky planets in its own solar system. It's very heavy for its size. Its center is like a round right curve where the temperature reaches Celsius, as hot as the surface of the Sun. Earth's surface is also protected by a thick atmosphere. This blocks out most of the harmful radiance from space. It also causes small incoming objects to burn up a shooting star. Only the large meteors and comets reach the surface and explode, leaving like crater. Unlike the Moon and other rocky planets, there are few impact craters on the Earth today. Most of them have been worn away or filled in by the action of flowing water, wind, and ice. Fourth, Mars. Mars is often called the red planet because it appears in the sky as an orange-red star. Mars is the fourth planet from the Sun. It orbits the Sun at an average distance of million kilometers, half as far again as the Earth, so human visitors would find it very cool. Life on Mars. There is no sign of any life, plants, of intelligent Martians of the planet. We now know that is a very cold, dry planet where liquid water cannot exist on the surface. However, there are large areas of water ice at the polar caps. Mars valley and volcanoes. Mars has many large impact craters. Most of these are the south of the equator. They seem to have been made by meteorites crashing onto the surface billions of years ago. The large crater is about across. The surface of Mars now contains valleys. The valleys seem to have been formed by cracking in the planet's surface, when rocky crust stretched and pulled apart. Not far to the west are 5 enormous volcanoes. Most impressive of all is Olympus Mons, the large volcano in the solar system. It's wider than inland and 3 times higher than Mount Everest. See the highest mountain on Earth. None of these volcanoes are active at the present time. Water on Mars. In many ways, Mars is the most Earth-like of all the planets. A visitor would find that a day on Mars is only slightly longer than one on Earth. Mars is also tilted about the same amount as the Earth, so it's has season. Both Mars and Earth have with polar caps. Those on Mars are much smaller and thinner, so they grow quickly in winter and almost disappear in summer. They are much colder than the polar caps on Earth, so they contain frozen carbon dioxide. The dry ice used to create fog instead so, as well as its water ice. 5th, Jupiter. Beyond the asteroid belt is Jupiter, the first 5 planets from the Sun. Everything about Jupiter is large. It's so big that it could easily swallow all of the other planets, or more than. It also weighs more than twice as much as all the other planets. Despite its high size, Jupiter is the fastest spinning planet, rotating once in less than 10 hours. Jupiter is 5 times as far from the Sun as the Earth. Its surface temperature is low. Every 13 months or so it comes closer to us and becomes very bright in the night sky. Jupiter is a giant ball of gas with no solid surface. It's mainly made of the very light gas, hydrogen, and helium. Telescopes show a cloudy atmosphere with colorful bands and spots. The large feature called the Great Red Spot is a giant storm. Several times the size of the Earth, it has been blowing non-stop for more than. Jupiter has a fine ring of dust that was discovered by the Voyager spacecraft. It also orbited by the large family satellites. 6. Saturn is the 6th planet from the Sun. It was thought to be the furthest of the planets until the telescope was invented. Second only in size to Jupiter, Saturn is made mainly of the light gas, hydrogen, and helium. But the giant weighs only times as much as on our rocky world. If you could put all of the planet in a pool of water, Saturn is the only one that would float. Despite its size, Saturn spins once in a little more than 10 hours. Its spin is so rapid that it bulges outward at the equator, making it look like a ball that has been squeezed in a telescope. Saturn appears a pale yellow color. It has no solid surface, so what we are saying are clouds that appear as light and dark bands. These clouds are blowing along by very strong winds. Much of the head that drive this wind comes from inside the planet. Above the cloud top is formed the separate system of rings. Saturn moons. Saturn has no moons. More than any other planet except Jupiter, one of them, Titan, is planet-sized, but the others are much smaller. Most of the moons are ice and covered with many round craters of the different sizes. These have been dug by comets and rocky meteorites crashing into them. Although their surfaces are extremely cold, some of the moons seem to be warm inside. Some of the smaller moons orbit inside the rings. They act circuit, keeping the ring particles in place. Two of them even swept orbit as one overtakes the other. Saturn's rings. Saturn is famous as the Lord of the Rings, even though the other giant gas planets from the Sun. Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune also have rings. Saturn's system takes pride of place. Since its rings are extremely bright and very light, a telescope infrared astronomers released that they are made of millions of fragments of ice and rock. Gaps in the rings have been cleared by the gravity of nearby moons. Like a giant compact disc, the flat rings are more wide enough to fill most of the gap between the Earth and Moon, but less than 1 kilometer thick. 7. Uranus. Uranus is 7 planets from the Sun. Its best discovery by William Hertz in Uranus lies more than 1 million kilometers from the Sun. At this time, the temperature of its core, it moves quite slowly and has a long way to travel, so its orbit lasts for 18 years. Uranus is a giant world, the third largest planet in the solar system. Worldwide in insect it. Despite its size, it spans rapidly. A day on Uranus lasts only 17 hours. Uranus spins like a top knocked over itself. This means that the Sun is sunken directly overhead. At the poles, each pole had a summer and winter lasting years, making the hot and cold place on the planet. The main gas in its thick atmosphere are hydrogen and helium, with small amount of metal. The metal scatters blue light, which is why Uranus appears blue. However, it is very different from Jupiter and Saturn. Uranus is mainly made of ice, a mixture of water, methane, and ammonia. And its center, there may be a smaller rocky core. This means that it is very lightweight for its size. Uranus has no moons. None of these are very big. Their large satellites are Oberon and Titania, but more than kilometers in diameter. Uranus also has a dozen dark dusty rings. The 8th, Neptune. Neptune was discovered by Johann Kepler, an astronomer at the Berlin observation. Neptune turned out to be almost an identical twin of Uranus. It is five times bigger than the Earth, but spins quite rapidly. One day lasts only 60 hours. Its average distance from the Sun is about 1 million kilometers, and 1 year on Neptune lasts for almost Like Uranus, it has an atmosphere of hydrogen, helium, and methane. Its interior is made of ice, with possible rocky core. Although the atmosphere is very cool, the blue planet had some very strong winds and felt storm. Voyager 2 imaged a hot spot the size of the Earth. Neptune has the last 5 domes. Narrow rings. It has 13 known moons. By far the largest is Triton, an ice world that is bigger than Pluto. Triton is very cool, so its thin atmosphere has frozen onto the surface. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.